Welcome to Electric Evolution with Liz Allan. This podcast is about the journey to a more sustainable future in order for us to be able to do our bit to achieve net zero. I'll be discussing a variety of topics with experts in their field in order to educate and increase our knowledge of clean energy, electric vehicles and the electric vehicle infrastructure. So whether you're an individual wanting to make a difference at home, a small business or a corporate, this podcast is just for you. So this is a really, really special episode for me, and I've got a very special guest who I've been hounding for months to join me on this podcast. Months and months, probably since I started. This is episode 100. I can't believe it. I have Jonny Berry on here, and I've been hounding him for ages, and I'm going to introduce him properly in a second, but I still can't believe that the episode 100, we're here, and it just blows my mind. And you are, yes, we wanted to have you on here, Jonny, because of the fact that we've been hounding you so much. And I just thought, do you know what? 100 episode, it's got to be you, really, hasn't it? So thank you ever so much for joining me. Finally, thank you.
It's my pleasure. Persistence certainly paid off, Liz.
Actually, I've got to give it to Michelle, who is my friend and co-worker and number 2 at Full Circle for going this is in March, wasn't it? Yes. Yeah, she popped out from behind me while I was talking. She went, we've been wanting to get you on the podcast for ages. Do you want to come in number 100? So there we go. We're here. So, absolutely. Hey, I'm on. Why am I saying absolutely? I'm honoured to have you on. It's brilliant, honestly. So, I'm just going to give you a little introduction. For those of you that do not know Jonny Berry, right? He is the head of Decarbonisation, Innovation and Strategy at Novuna Vehicle Solutions. He's the founder of the EV Cafe. We all love the EV Cafe. And this one he's the only one he's the final one for me to interview on this podcast as well. So that's the other thing. He's been a Green Fleet EV champion in 2020. And this stuff just blows my mind. You were awarded Nissan's Global CEO Award while working at Motorline Group as the EV Business Development Manager. You've got to talk about that in a minute. You've worked in the automotive sector for 10 years now. And the final thing is, this is probably nearly the first podcast you've been on, isn't it?
This kind of podcast, definitely. Many internal ones, but not many external ones. So yeah,
honestly.
I don't think anyone wants to listen to me, Liz. That's why.
Oh, stop it! Of course we do. Goodness me. So listen, thank you. It's absolutely brilliant to have you on here, and yeah, we've had a little chat before we started recording. So yeah, it's just wonderful, and I want to know, and I want to get you to give everybody a little bit of your backstory. I always talk about people's backstories. So before you started working at Novuna, what was your, like I say, you've got this award, this Nissan Global CEO Award. What was your journey to get to where you are now?
Blimey, go back, way back.
Just a small question.
Yes, yeah. So I guess it all started while I was at university. I'll just start by saying I've always had a passion for mobility, particularly cars, fast cars at that.
Okay.
And I'd always been quite creative. I'd studied art. I wanted to design, more industrial stuff. So naturally, I studied that at university in Kingston. What I found was that I was really interested in the full life cycle of a product, where the materials have come from, perhaps even the carbon embodied, what impact that's having on the environment and to us as humans.
Yeah.
And so that love for, all of that sustainability stuff and my passion for cars resulted in me being in the decarbonisation of transport space, right? So I guess it all started from me writing a dissertation, the viability of EV coming to the UK, and that was back in 2010 or something like that.
Yeah.
And actually, some people at Nissan head office had seen that I'd published this on LinkedIn and wanted to talk because they were imminently about to launch the first generation of Nissan Leaf. and they were looking at rolling out an innovation specialist program across their top performing Nissan dealerships. And Motorline happened to be one of the largest franchises at the time, which is now owned by Marshall's Group. So, and actually at that time I was privileged enough to be offered a job at Tesla as well, at their first site. I think it was West Drayton, at a time when Elon Musk was rubber stamping everybody, so a long time ago. And the couple of things that I'm particularly proud of, and probably demonstrates that creativity side, is at university I also built a new method of construction and furniture. I designed a new method of slip casting, which got told off for originally, and then it worked. And they were like,
You got told off?
yeah. And my other claim to fame, because I'm very proud of that history, is I also helped and designed and built the furniture for the Millbank Tower during the Olympic Games. So that's quite a highlight of my career. But and then I got sucked into the automotive industry, as you quite rightly say, 10 years or so ago. And once you're in the automotive industry, it's hard to get out. But I've only been in the EV space. So yeah, and no surprise that I chose to work with Nissan. So I felt that they had a little bit more to offer with their Nissan Leaf, a bit more of an affordable product at the time.
Yes.
And it turned out to be the right decision, really, Liz, because, as you quite rightly say, I picked up the prestigious Nissan Global CEO Award. Thank you.
I was clapping them for those of you listening.
So proud of my achievements, quite rightly. But and why I picked up that award was for the 3 years that I consecutively worked in that position. I had actually sold more Nissan Leafs and EV200s than not only anybody, but any sort of a country, you know, and I found it quite easy, to be honest. It was quite an easy sell to businesses when they had the write-down allowance and their credentials, but also to individuals that are coming in to buy a Qashqai. Well, actually, they can save a ton of money and save the environment by driving a Nissan Leaf. So I embraced it, and ever since, just been in the e-mobility space when it comes to the automotive industry, and it's just gone from there. Shall I carry on my career there, Liz?
God, yeah. Yeah, come on.
After that, I realised that it was focused on retail, and I definitely felt like I needed a bit more fleet experience, and I felt that fleets are the ones that are going to have the biggest impact because they're the ones that are doing more mileage. They represent quite a large portion of the vehicles on the road today. So, and Renault gave me that opportunity. So I was responsible for the southern region of the UK with EV fleet sales. And again, hit some pretty big milestones, big companies taking their first sort of, dipping the toe on EV with Renault, with big orders. So that was really, really good. And I really enjoyed my time at Renault. But I quickly came to the realization that actually product is product, right, for fleets. But the one thing that they really needed help with was charging infrastructure. And I think Renault recognised this. So Renault built a subsidiary company called Electricent at the time, formerly known as Electricent, wholly owned subsidiary company of the Renault Group, and now what is known as today as Mobilise Power Solutions. Okay. So I felt that I was going to have a bigger impact by moving over to Mobilise and actually supporting fleets with their actual charging requirements. And I felt that there still is a long way to go with that for lots of different reasons. And I felt that it wasn't just what Mobilise were doing in terms of workplace and depot charging. It was more than that. So I needed a platform that was going to enable that for me. And I felt that actually a leasing company like Novuna was absolutely perfect. Match made in heaven, really. Because I was able, given the platform, to support every single type of vehicle, every type of driver, every type of operations with their charging requirements, not just sticking a charger at home. And I've been there 3 years now with Novuna, and it's the decarbonisation piece with Novuna is very broad, and there's a lot of good stuff happening in the industry individually. We're bringing them all together. It's all about collaboration. Providing just that one place for any types of charging, whether it's workplace, depot, home, public. sharing of networks, whether it's different delivery methods of electricity, whether it's different types of access, whether it's business criticality, you name it, the list goes on.
Wow. Oh my God. So go on, give us a little bit of what is a day in the life of Johnny Berry? Or is it so different every single day that
Yeah.
there's so many, but kind of on an average day then,
Yeah.
what kind of stuff are you getting involved in?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So if I take today, for example, I'm doing a podcast
Yeah.
with you, one of the very first. And probably the rest of the day, I will be catching up with the team in terms of how in life is going with the current existing network that we have today. I will be talking to the project teams about how we're progressing with some of the projects we've got going on at the moment. So at the moment, we've got some projects around charge point management systems, new ways of procuring charging, so whether that's leasing, stuff like that, some charging infrastructure, monetization of projects. So that takes up a large proportion of my day. So I've got a little bit of customer, I've got a little bit of projects, a little bit of operations, a little bit of fun stuff like this with you, Liz. And it's unusual that I'm in the office actually, because I do find myself during the week, the working week, being all over the country. Like only last week I was speaking at the EV Summit in Oxford.
Yeah, and I missed you. We were on. I've got to say, sorry, we were on holiday last week. I was gutted. I was gutted that I missed so many people. I kind of saw how many people were there, and I was just like, "Oh, for God's sake!" But I was in Brittany, so I was actually
Getting
enjoying
FOMO,
myself.
would you?
Yeah, I was. FOMO whilst on holiday doesn't sound right, though, does it?
No, it sure doesn't.
So, okay, so you get involved in all of these things, which is, and it's growing because and you opened the hub, like you opened a charging hub last year. Was it
Yeah,
last year? Was it earlier on this year?
it was September last year.
Gosh,
So,
so it's been
yeah,
open quite a while.
yeah,
Like, remind me where it was
in
and tell
Trowbridge,
me.
head office in Trowbridge. Yeah.
Ah, of course.
So we call it Travel Hub, EV Charging Showcase Site. It's been different names throughout since September. The reality for that site is that a lot of our clients are on the start of their journey when it comes to electrification, right? And so there's lots of pain points throughout charging. There's a lot, whether it's energy, suitability, matching architectures, whether it's suitability of vehicles. The list is quite vast, to be honest. And so, and also there's an element of Novuna wanting to put their money where their mouth is. So if we're going to do that for our clients, we want to trial it and do it ourselves first. So we designed this Trowbridge Showcase site a little over 2 years ago, actually, where we can not only support our own demographic of vehicles, company cars and vans that we have on site, because we are specialists. It's a specialist site as well. We have a vehicle preparation centre, but also demonstrate all the existing technologies that are available today for fleets that are suitable for industrial use. So yeah, the electric vehicle charging site, we have solar canopies, we have battery storage, we have an integrated energy management system, we have what I call sort of very robust and secure AC charging in the names of Alfin Kit. And we also have some innovative brands like Zaptec and Easy, doing things slightly differently, but able to provide a more low-cost engineering approach. Then we also have on the other side, so we have AC there, and then on the other side we have DC charging. So we have DC charging in the forms of portable, where we can move them to vehicles and charge on site. And we do that with Kempower and Autel and Eco Energetica and various other companies. And then we have a dedicated en route charging hub, which is satellite systems connected to a big power module. So it's very clever in the way that it disseminates the power to the satellite connections. And the purpose of that is for 200 kilowatt charging, of course, and that element for more heavier, more specialist vehicles, but also for us to go down on a journey, which is about learning about regulations and compliance, about monetizing public charging. Because now that's out, there's a lot to consider when you put charging infrastructure in the ground. And we need to learn so we can make sure we make the right decisions for when we implement infrastructure for our client sites. Because no doubt, especially if they're going to go for workplace charging, it's expensive. The capex is high. They might want to monetize certain ways or support their local community, whatever it might look like. Or even share between corporates. So it's a big site, and I definitely invite you down, Liz, to take a look. Anybody that's interested, actually, on the back of your podcast is always welcome to come and learn. Crucially, learn. That's what it's about.
So is it open? Is it open to the public then, or do we have to kind of would people like myself and anybody listening who wanted to join, come down, we have to talk to you and sort of like actually have like a showcase day?
Yeah, so we do hold a couple of open days throughout the year. So those that are looking to get workplace or depot charging installations, and we'd be more than happy to host them down on site. It's a good thing, again, learning. I likened it to, I don't know if you remember, but in Milton Keynes they had the EVEC, the Electric Vehicle Experience Centre.
Now, do you know, that's a little bit before I started getting involved in this, but I did hear a lot of good stuff about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, and it would have been very close to me.
Yeah, and it was a great opportunity very early on, Liz, for people to go and, in an impartial environment, not going to get sold to experience electric vehicles, right? So I kind of likened it to that, but for businesses. So, but we can't have anybody just turning up randomly.
No,
they will need to. However, when I was mentioning about the DC charging site, the sort of the ultra fast rapid charging, come September, October, that will be open to the public for anybody to come and use. So again, doing what we say we can do, testing it and supporting the local community as well.
Fantastic. So, right, if you are listening or watching this, when this goes live, which it's going to be fairly soon, why don't you either message Jonny? Would that be all right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, please.
Maybe through LinkedIn or email, or actually message me, and maybe we can have like a group expedition down to the site.
Yeah,
that would be fantastic.
Yeah, we'd love
an electric evolution day out. Perfect. I love that.
Perfect. That's the second part of the podcast.
Yeah. That'd be fantastic. So when you opened it last year, I think the reason why I couldn't make it was, you probably know what was on the same day, don't you?
Yes. Yeah.
There was an EV Cafe Day, Partners Day, and So my apologies, but I know there was quite a lot of people who came to it. But yeah, I'd love to see the site. It sounds brilliant. So and obviously you've got that as that's the showcase.
Yeah.
So you're showing that to businesses who are coming in. Have you got when you're thinking about moving this forwards, then are you intending to kind of open other showcases around the country, or is it just specifically implementing the fleet solutions, including charging, for your customers?
So a good question. So we have other offices. The vehicle solutions offices are based in Trowbridge and Newbury. We have other offices like Staines and Telford and Leeds. They too are going to get really good charging infrastructure, but it won't be for the purpose of a showcase site.
Right.
So the showcase site will always remain in Trowbridge, I think, because we have like the opportunity to do that. But we're kind of moving on from there now. So we are looking to trial new product there on site. We're also looking to trial new product at some of our client sites as well. So yeah, because it's fast paced. The market's so fast paced.
I've never known anything like it. I really haven't. We had this conversation about our ages, didn't we?
Yes.
And I'm going to share with everybody, I thought Jonny was older than he is, which I'm so embarrassed about. But actually, in my 55 years, and I have never known a sector move in the way that this is. It is just amazing. So kind of, seeing it move forward the way it is just fantastic. And speaking to people like you, like I say, episode 100, I've spoken to 100 people on this podcast, including my husband, but I speak to him every day, funnily enough. But it's just, there's
nearly 4 days of continually talking to people about this sector. So
you can tell I like talking, My first job, I'm just going to digress. I told you I digress. My very first job was, because I'm from Halifax, it was at, well, I call it my first proper job, was at the Halifax Building Society, because most people in Halifax work there at some point. And and I didn't do that well there because of the fact that I taught too much. That was like in their deeds admin, which was kind of not particularly exciting. But yeah, so this is perfect for me. But let's come back to what we've been talking about with you. So it really sounds like what you're doing is really innovative with the customers. What size customers are you working with at Novuna then?
So we're talking to and working with and contracted with some of the largest fleets in the UK. So a number of them representing the top 50 fleets in the UK. And so, yeah, the innovation piece is so important. As I say, we have a team dedicated on the innovation piece, and we're talking about new ideas every week, new companies, new startups, new ways of working, new products. And what we're looking to do is address all of the challenges, all of the pain points from all of the fleets. So what you tend to find is that a lot of the big fleets is that they first and foremost are going to look at what they can do in their own locations. So in the depots, and within the depots, there's so many challenges, just that alone. So you've obviously got your energy, you've obviously got business criticality, whether that's something you can set up to have charge points. You've got capex barriers. You've got certainty of tenure. They might not know if they're going to be there in 5 years, or they share the site, or whatever it might look like. So that alone is what we really do work hard on as a foundation for some of our clients, because that's what they're doing right here, right now. The second piece of that is, well, if we can't do it there, or we've got some vehicles that return to home, how can we support charging at home? And just putting a charge point on isn't enough. They need to think about reimbursement. They need to think about, if that charger goes wrong, are they going to get visibility of it? Are they going to have SLAs attached to that? Because, worst possible thing could happen is the charger stops charging, or something goes wrong and we've got no SLAs attached to it. We don't know anything about it. We can't do anything about it. And that vehicle's off the road, not earning money. If the wheels aren't turning, they're not earning, as they say. So, and the third piece of that is, can't charge at a depot, can't charge at home. Well, what do we do? So, public charging, perhaps, but it's a much more expensive energy.
It is.
Quite rightly, they're not always set up to take on big vans. There's no real certainty that they're even going to get to that charger and it's available, working, whatever it might be. And I know the legislation, it's a great thing. So we have to think about all these three key areas, really. Not just workplace depot charging, not just going, hello, Mr. Customer, here's a great company, go talk to them. Or try to cover everything and say, you need to go to this company, this company, this company, this company, this company. Trying to make it easy for these clients to just transact with Novuna, and we'll take care of the rest. Yeah, and it can be very difficult because there's so much going on.
I was going to say, because I suppose you've got multiple customers. You are mapping the multiple customer journeys, aren't you? Depending on what types of fleets they have, whether they've got vans, whether they've got trucks, whether they've got cars, whatever. And then you're mapping probably where everything is, how it's working, and looking at the solutions for that.
Absolutely, yeah. As you quite rightly say, that's the bit that matters the most, is what you've just said. Trace and dwell data. So we have to start with that. Where are the vehicles when they're not working, they're not in operation, where are they situated? And can we get charged that vehicle then, wherever it might be?
Do you know, as a business improvement person, that totally ticks my boxes, I've got to say. That kind of analysis piece is just, is just brilliant. And actually, if you're to me, it's like looking at a 1,000-piece jigsaw, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Where you've got little bits there, and you've got to fill that bit in there, and then you've got to fill that bit, and it's just starting to and then obviously, because everything's moving forward so quickly, it's the puzzle's growing, isn't it? So it's going from 1,000 to...
It's funny you say that. It's funny you say that, because when we launched the Trowbridge Showcase site in September, the way I described it, I know you weren't there, and I know we didn't record it live, but the way I described it was the electrification puzzle.
We're on the same mindset.
Yeah, we're on the same mindset there. Yeah, that's a good way of describing it, for sure.
Definitely. No, it's fantastic. All the stuff that you're doing, The next question I want to talk to you about is the EV cafe, because this is a whole conversation in itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
You are the founder of the EV cafe. Why did it come about? What was it? From what I understand, it during lockdown that it
Yes.
happened. Tell me what happened for you to actually think, oh, I need to have something. I need to do something to talk to people. What
Yeah.
was it?
Yes. So I'm very entrepreneurial, which really helps with what I do. And I guess I saw a few things on the back of the first announcement of the first lockdown, which was essentially we need to keep the conversations going
Mm, mm,
because we still have to do this, and arguably it's more important than COVID, in terms of particularly around air quality and the premature deaths around air quality, and the longer term piece here. So the first week of the lockdown, I did a number of things to begin with. If I'm being honest, Liz, every day I did a video about EVs.
did
Um,
you?
every single day. Yeah,
Good
I
on you.
committed at the beginning. I was like, I'm going to do for this month of this lockdown. Every day, I'm going to give you one fact about EVs. And I did it in my Renault Zoe out the front of my house every single day.
I love that.
um, and safe to say that my camera roll on my iPhone had about 1,000 videos because I just kept retaking.
Perfectionism. There you go. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I get you.
perfectionism definitely interrupted that. Anyway, I digress. So I was with Renault at the time, EV fleet sales, and so predominantly I wanted to still be in front of businesses talking to them about
Mm,
EVs and
mm,
decarbonisation, transport, and all that sort of lovely stuff. And they weren't willing to have a conversation with me when they're trying to keep their business in operations, quite rightly.
yeah.
So I wanted to create this kind of safe place that anyone can tune in every single week between 12 and 2 on Adobe, and every single week. And we would talk about a number of topics related to EV. So no pressure, anyone can come on, we'll have some guests on, um, and we'll have a conversation, almost like a drop-in surgery. And
Mm.
give credit to a guy called Matthew Kiziak at the time. He also worked for Renault. He was responsible for the northern part. He was fundamental in supporting me with this project. Thought I was a bit mad at times. Um, but it was great. We had a fair few hundred people tune in every week, and it did much more than just keep the conversations going. It brought people together. It
Mm.
created a community. It helped people that were struggling to be isolated from the world, had something to everybody to look forward to during the week. Whereas I was losing out because I felt that every Monday, Tuesday, I was like stressing over Wednesday. I was like
Oh,
coming up to Wednesday, I'm thinking, is a dope going to work? Because it was so temperamental, and
is it? Oh
are people
God.
going to
This is
go? Have I
this is
got a follow?
pre-Zoom. This is
Oh, yeah,
pre-Zoom, is it?
it was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. We
Yeah.
crashed Adobe numerous times until we went on to Zoom. It was like Zoom could handle it. But as
Yeah.
soon as 200 people entered the room, it was crashing. It was buggy. It was crazy. And I remember I had John Curtis on, and it was only me and John because no one else could get in, and there was
Oh
500
no.
people on the call, and it was just me and John chatted rubbish mostly for 2 hours, but people still stayed on. People still listened. People still asked questions. Still, people got into the conversation. So it showed how important that was as a platform, not just as business, but community and supporting
Yeah.
those that are isolated. And I never, in my wildest dreams, thought it was going to be what it is today. For sure, I did not expect that. And naturally, I knew that people were going to get fed up with just listening to my point of view. I needed somebody that was going to represent vans and represent sustainable travel and charging, fleets, and good voice. And so, over time, over 6 months, I brought the team together. What makes the EV Cafe team
Mm.
together? That was a right decision. I will say this though: Sam Clark was the last one to join.
I
Um,
heard. I heard. Is
and
there a reason for that?
he came on initially as a guest and he loved it so much. I think he messaged me pretty much every single week to say, can I be part of the team? Can I be part of the team? And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, yeah, I quite like him to be that part of the team, but I'm going to make him sweat. I'm going to keep him asking for weeks and weeks and weeks.
That
um,
is hilarious. I love
yeah.
that. I love that. Oh my God. They are such a brilliant team you've brought together. I
Yeah,
think, do you know what? I've got to admit that I found lockdown very, very difficult. You
yeah.
know, I'm married to, as you know, I'm married to a professor of climate science. He's quite happy being on his own, and my son he was quite happy as long as he had the Xbox and he could do schoolwork. I hated it. I
Yeah,
hated
I
every single minute
do.
of it. I'd not been able to talk to people, just did me nothing, you
Yeah,
know. So yeah, actually, yeah, I can imagine that it would have brought so much joy to people, you
yeah,
know,
yeah. I
just
was very
doing that.
fortunate during lockdown because 2 weeks prior to the lockdown, I had my first child, so Sienna.
Oh, blimey.
So yeah, so again, one of the other stresses of Wednesdays is that baby's not crying in the background, which is often the case.
That
But
was the least you think. God.
yeah,
Oh my God.
but I feel a little bit guilty about my 1 year old. She turned one on Saturday
Oh.
because she didn't get the time that Sienna got, obviously, because I was at
Mm.
home the whole time. But yeah, so for that reason, it was a good thing. Appreciating that for most, it wasn't a good thing. But I never worked so hard as well, Liz. To be honest, with the EV Cafe, with the videos, with trying to keep things going, and the rest of the employees are furloughed. I thought I couldn't think of anything worse than being furloughed. That's yeah, um, different experiences for different people, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I did a lot of online. So being self-employed, at that time, I was running lots of online exams for
Right.
apprenticeships because they were business improvement apprenticeships. So actually, I was talking to people like we are now, but it's just not. It's just it wasn't the same, you know. So
Yeah. It's still
just
not the same. It's still not the same. I'd much rather be having this conversation with you, Liz, over
I
a
know.
coffee in hand.
I know, exactly.
So,
It is that personal, that face to face
mm,
level of communication makes such a difference, doesn't it? But talking about making such a difference, you and the team have done that. You know, all of the stuff that you've been doing with kind of like the EV Cafe Village at various different locations and the partners and things like that. It's funny. I shared a friend of mine who doesn't know this sector whatsoever, and I shared something that made me chuckle. I think JC had put it on, and she didn't know him, and it seemed really weird that she didn't know him. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of like she went, "Is that funny then?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's really funny." She's like, "Oh, okay," you know. But
it's.
go on. Sorry.
I was just going to say it's. We have our ways of going about our webinars and our podcasts, don't we? And it probably isn't for everybody, but yeah, I mean, we're not your traditional webinar, are we? That's the thing about EV Cafe. What do
Well,
we
I
call it? We
mean,
call it funner, I think. I think
I,
like
lo- oh, I love Sam's face when you all go funner, and even you're a bit like that, aren't you as well? It just makes me laugh so much because like that kind of tortured look in Sam's eyes of like, really, do I have to
yeah,
do that again?
yeah. I think we're
But
so
yeah,
serious in our day-to-day professional lives. It gives us that outlet to be a bit silly, and we're all friends, really.
are
Um,
you sure all the time? Because sometimes there's a little bit of, isn't there?
yeah, particularly between Sam and Paul, they have their disagreements. I do find that particularly enjoyable to watch, though, if I'm being honest.
It is. It is. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. No, as a team, it's all the stuff that you're doing and kind of getting the message out about electric vehicles and all everything around decarbonisation just is making such a difference. What would you say? Because I think, am I right? Are you going to be having you're going to be having a place at CarFest? Is that happening?
Yes, we
Yeah.
are. Yeah, so we are exhibiting at CarFest, so we'll have our own EV cafe area, and we'll be there for the whole weekend.
Mm.
And all of us will be conducting some panel sessions as well. But I think we're quite nice fit for that environment because
Mm.
we are quite relaxed, and we're happy to take those people that are interested in cars but not quite sold on electrification just yet to come and chat to us about all the different things around it. I'd say we're quite qualified to do that.
Absolutely. But do you, but you, because I mean, obviously, with with a kind of a thing like CarFest, you're also looking at lots of massive petrol heads as well, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
How do you guys feel that you can cope with, and cope isn't the right word, manage and handle
yeah,
that kind of level of negativity that, and I always talk about this on all of,
yeah, yeah,
oh,
yeah.
because of the podcast, and it's been going for so long. You know, we've seen that media hype and all that negativity come out.
Mm.
How are you going to be able to
We
counter that?
Yeah, so we actually thrive off that. To be honest,
That's
we
good.
we do. The sort of myths and people challenging us with it, pretty much same questions dressed up in
Yes.
different ways. But and I personally do, so I can focus better on panels and conversations when somebody asks me a specific questions. But don't they catch fire? Don't they just get thrown away? Or I haven't got enough range to go down to the south of France that once a year, or whatever it might look like. And businesses have different questions, more so related to their operations or their sites and stuff like that. So actually, for us to be in CarFest environment, it's quite good for us because it is outside, as you quite rightly say, it is quite outside the church walls. We don't want people to talk to us that already love EVs, really. We do. We want to create that community for
Yeah.
sure. Because we can all help each other out, get the positive message out, and challenge that negative rhetoric. But where we want to do our webinars and our shows, personally, I want to be talking to somebody that comes along. You'll never get me into an EV, mate. Well, okay, let's have a chat. On challenge accepted.
Absolutely, and that in itself is amazing, isn't it? Do you know, weirdly enough, so it wasn't particularly a good story to start off with, but our car stopped charging. We've got a used Hyundai, whatever you want to call it, and it stopped charging, so we had to have it in. It was in for repair for about 6 weeks. And luckily, we got a Polestar 2.
Okay.
Amazing. I've just loved it. But anyway, that's just me getting excited. And my neighbour, who's in his 70s, who's a real petrol head even at that age, he's like, I quite like the look of this car. I like this. And I went, do you want to go for a do you want to go for a little ride with me? We'll just
Yeah.
kind of go around Reading, and yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And he looked at the boot. Oh, it's got the right size for my golf clubs and stuff like that. And he said, well, I do really like this. It kind of ticks the boxes, but then I got the but I'm not there just yet.
Oh,
But I just
really?
thought, but you know what? Actually, Johnny, the thing was, he
Progress.
was he was further forwards.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's to me, that's the main thing. He was further forwards. To him, that Polestar 2 kind of ticked his boxes. It was the right size. He
Yeah.
really, I should have seen his little face.
Yeah.
I couldn't go quite. It wasn't the motorway. The M4 was, because you go to Newbury sometimes, and it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
far
yeah.
from Reading. And there was
Yeah.
a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit on it, and I couldn't really do much really
Yeah,
with
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
But just that, and hopefully it'll be the same with you guys at CarFest. Even if you move people a little bit forwards in their thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does remind me of the Nissan days, what you just said there, was because when we were selling the Nissan Leaf, or the EV200 for that matter, we would offer anybody an extended test drive, 7 days. Anybody can come and do it. And
Wow.
those that did buy a Nissan Leaf, we would offer a friends and family deal, so they could offer it to their friends, or we'd offer like a quite good, generous referral because they talk about it like you have. They'll take their neighbour out in it. They'll do this, they'll do that. But the Polestar is definitely more desirable than the first generation Nissan Leaf or vehicles like the G-Wiz that came before that.
Yeah, but it's just, again, it's just, and like I say, looking at the technology that's coming through in all the cars. Even our little, I call it an old Ionic. It's 2021, so it's 3 years. To me it feels old when you see it like something like a Polestar. But I can demist the windows from inside when
Yeah.
it's cold and things like that, and just that kind of evolving and emerging technology, and just little things,
all
just.
those all those benefits that you get from driving an electric vehicle, not just that it's a smooth drive and that you're going to save a ton of money, but there's so many other benefits. And I think, like, for consumers, for in the retail market. So if I was with Nissan or another brand in a retail environment, in a dealership right now, I think they'd all the sales guys, they would need to embrace it, because
Mm,
I saw a thing, and I think it was Stellantis Group. They published their finance PCP figures
mm,
for
mm.
all of their vehicles and the electric variants, and they were the same price.
Yeah,
So essentially, you're saying that
I've seen
there's
that.
no extra to get into an EV of that
Mm.
variant, yet you're going to save tons of money, and you're going to get the benefit of it, all of it, as long as it suits your needs. You have the ability to charge at home. So yeah, I mean, like, so that what you're saying is really, really important, because it's easy to get into them now, easier, shall I say?
Exactly.
Um,
Just talking about when you said about dealerships, though, I've just seen something in the last few days on. I don't tend to go on Facebook too much, to be honest. It's there's two sites I look at. Well, one main site. One of them's Women Drive Electric,
yeah,
because I'm really interested in. They've got
great.
3,000 members on the Facebook group now, which is amazing. And then there was another vehicle EV vehicle owners club, I think,
Yeah,
UK.
yeah.
And there was a woman on there, and she'd had major problems with dealerships. And I think she's in Skipton, where my nephew lives.
Hmm.
And the different dealerships she went to were she was saying I'm quite small, so I need to make sure that the seat is adjustable so that I can actually drive, but I need a small SUV, blah blah blah. And she went through probably about 4 or 5 dealerships that she'd spoken to, and some of them were saying, no, just get a nice vehicle, get a combustion
Mm,
engine. That's going to be better for you. And it's still, and I've talked about this quite a lot. It's still that mentality
mm,
in kind of like, in the regular dealerships
mm,
with regards to combustion engines.
mm.
They
Yeah,
can't see it. I don't know where do we go? How do we make that change?
yeah. So
No.
the only way we're going to make that change is we're going to have the influence of the manufacturer, or senior level within that particular franchise, because the sales guys. There was a phrase years ago that sales guys sell what they can see, not see what they can sell.
Yes.
So if they had a vehicle that they know they could sell and get it within this month and get commission, that meant more than getting that vehicle and getting that person into the right vehicle. Dare I say it? No, I'm not generalizing here, but so I think the bit that we can support the sales guys on is that education first, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Allow them to get into the EVs so they get to experience it firsthand as well. And also, the sales guys at the end, they're based on commission. So make it sensible for them. Because they no doubt will need to spend a lot more time talking about EV than
Mm.
an ICE vehicle. The ICE vehicle's easy. Well, that's what it is. You've been driving that for 20 years. You know what that's like. But with EV, you've got to spend a lot more time. So they should be compensated for that. So I think the onus should be on the manufacturers and the wider group to support the sales guys, is what I would say in that respect. Yeah.
If we're talking about that, then do you feel that maybe the commission? Oh God, I mean, this is another that whole conversation, but to me, it feels like the commission structure needs to change.
Yeah. Yeah. So
If we're talking about something that's so new, if you've got people, it maybe they need to be like you say, maybe they need to be incentivized to
mm,
do that,
mm,
to learn to sell EVs, and actually, if they're able to do that
mm,
and explain it and not just jump in a car and they go, see you later.
yeah.
None of that. If they did more, then I
Yeah.
don't know whether you can answer that question or not. I don't know.
Yeah, it's every single manufacturer, every single dealership, even down to the actual dealership itself, have their own sort of structure. But I think we definitely saw a change when we implemented these kind of things. All
Mm,
of the sales guys need to be in EVs. Probably the right thing to do on benefit in kind and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah, yeah.
They all need to undergo training. They also get properly compensated for it, and we did see a change in that. But it still might not be enough. It might just be that we just need to win their hearts and minds and think about things differently. Um, but that certainly helps. Like we've seen in the company car world, right? So in
Mm.
the company car world, you do things like the benefit in kind. You reduce it down to zero. People that didn't like EVs, they're going to go and love EVs for that reason. So yeah, but we want it to be the other way.
I get you, and also, like you said, you've talked about your own charging infrastructure that you're supporting. You know, your customers with. It's about that kind of joined up approach, isn't it? You know.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. You said about your charger failing, whether that's the vehicle or the charger, and you've had to change the vehicle. For a fleet, that would be a nightmare. You think about the
Mm.
impacts on the operations.
Oh,
So
it's
we can
shocking.
swap the
Yeah.
vehicle out, absolutely fine. But if we've just put a charger and we haven't thought about that, then it's the onus is on us, you know. And
Mm.
there's lots of good companies accounting for reimbursement or accounting for the services and doing their own thing, but we have to bring it all together and really consider the operational impact if anything
Yeah.
goes wrong. So,
I mean, for us, that the hardest thing, because I'm self-employed. I'm really the only one that uses the car, because
yeah,
I'm out and about consulting and what
yeah,
have you. So when I found out it was going to be potentially 3 weeks to even get the car in for a
wow.
diagnostic,
Mm,
I was just absolutely gobsmacked. And I've done some research since, and apparently the thing that seems to be lacking, and this is another conversation as well, but seems to be that there's the level of technicians that there are generally. And I'm
mm,
not just talking about EVs, I'm talking about petrol and diesel.
mm,
The dealerships haven't really invested in that kind of the technicians. I'm not saying
mm,
Renault, or wherever. I'm just saying across some of the networks. So
mm,
it's about making sure they've got those people in place, so
mm,
that we shouldn't have to wait that length of
mm.
time, because that's 3 weeks of work. That's 3 weeks of salary. Well,
Yeah,
paid
yeah.
work for me.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I mean, we as Novuna, if I speak on Novuna's behalf, we have like a quite extensive pool fleet. So we, you know, if anything goes wrong, we're able to react very, very
Yeah.
quickly. But we have to be in that position because one of our strengths is offering business critical services. But
Mm,
you're quite right, technicians, it could just be parts. You know, some of the brands, businesses love the brands. You know, I'm not going to mention any names. They're fantastic brands, but if their downtime when something goes wrong or they have an incident and we're waiting on parts
mm,
is huge,
yeah.
huge.
And time is money.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the
And some
thing,
fleets
isn't
are
it?
like saying, you know what, I think we're going to see some big fleets go. When you know what, we've had enough. We're not going to do it anymore. We're not going to put those vehicles on the road anymore because we just can't afford the downtime. And I
Mm,
guess that's the challenge around the new entrants to the market. So whether they be Chinese OEMs or anything like that, to give some confidence to fleets and you that if something goes wrong, I've got someone to take it and you
yeah,
can fix it.
yeah.
That legacy OEMs have enjoyed for a long time. You know, if I went and I know I'm focusing on Nissan or Stellantis, but if I went and got one of their products, I can drive 2 miles up the road if I have a problem, and they will look after me.
Mm, mm,
Yeah, so
yeah. So I
lots to
think,
talk about.
yeah, hopefully over time, I suppose it's a bit like, it's such a massive change, isn't it? And it's
Mm,
not just the UK, it's across all the continents, it's such a big change. Like you say, we've been driving combustion engine vehicles for over 100 years now. It seems a bit weird, doesn't it? The fact that actually at the same time that they were introducing combustion engine vehicles, there were electric vehicles at the time,
mm,
really, 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 really a long time ago.
yeah, yeah,
But actually, the change is so kind of massive.
yeah,
It's a bit like, and I've kind of likened it. I don't know whether you know much about Henry Ford. So
yeah,
Henry Ford's kind of like the granddaddy or the great granddaddy of kind of improvement stuff. And
yeah,
he'd said, when he was talking about introducing the Model T,
yeah,
or just all of this, he was basically saying if people had asked me, they'd have probably wanted a faster horse,
yeah, 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 yeah.
or
Absolutely,
that's what
yeah.
they would have wanted. And actually, I think that's kind of what people are just wanting, something like the plug-in hybrids and things like that. They think that actually, well, that's must be okay,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's not full combustion engine. Well, but it's still polluting. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's that kind of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
But again, going back to the dealerships, it's up to them to actually be explaining this and
Mm,
explain it for the right reasons.
mm. Yeah, it's like what Jack Welch was quoted saying back when he was, I think, as CEO of General Electric when the EV1 was announced 30 years ago now. He was like, change before you have to. And I think that we're having to now. I think because of the ZEV mandate, because of the ban that's pending, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's we've had hundreds of years to get to where we are with refined diesel and where we are with the networks, and we're having to do things. Well, we've got 6 years until to get ourselves a little bit better. So it is a tall ask. So we've just all got to work on it now.
But you're kind of, for what you're doing at Novuna, yours is seems very much like best practice.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like we've just realised, not realised, but I think arguably one of the top sort of leasing companies that, yeah, realised that let's really listen to our customers, the voice of the customer, and let's understand their pain points. We know they've got to go through this journey, and just passing it and building a team internally that knows this stuff, not just from the fleet side, but actually charging stuff. So we've got people in our business that are just their whole experience has come from charging and energy and stuff like that. Never had any fleet. That doesn't matter, we need that experience, to bring into this. Otherwise, these fleets are going to have a really tough time, to electrify. So I welcome all companies to try and do it the way that we're doing it, because it's better for everybody.
So on that point, I'm going to ask you my final question then.
Okay.
If what would you like to happen in the run up to 2030? So theoretically, we might have two things happen. Well, one thing besides the ZEV mandate, we might have a rollback of the 2035. Obviously, the previous government has pushed the date for the ban on brand new combustion engine vehicles up to 2030. With the new government, we might have it brought back to 2030, and that's when the ZEV mandate kind of takes it right up to. Is it 100% by 2030 or is it 80%?
The mandate's 80% for
Yeah.
cars. Yeah.
So
So
what would you like to see in the run up to that? Do you want the 2035 to come back to 2030? What are your thoughts?
I think I do want it to come back to 2030, so it's consistent messaging. I feel
Yeah.
like manufacturers are being told one thing, which is the ZEV mandate. The general public are being told something else.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's necessarily fair. So I would welcome that. In terms of what I want by 2030, have you got a few hours?
I
I'll bring the
have
shopping
love.
list.
We'll just have to meet for that cup of tea after all,
Yeah,
though.
yeah. There's quite a tall ask. I would say that the support on vans has to be recognised a little bit more. I think it's quite clear there, whether it's fiscal support, whether it's accessibility in charging, whether it's bringing that into the consideration of regulation, whether it's the derogation of the weight limits of 4.25 tonne and what that means. So yeah, I think there needs to be a bit more consideration, not only on on the vehicle side, but also the charging side for van fleets,
Yes.
and the support there for sure. That's the bit that I would definitely welcome to see.
Let's keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully the new government's sort of starting to move in the right direction. Before we started recording, we were talking about the
Yeah,
onshore wind,
yeah,
kind of lifting of that
yeah.
ban, it's little by little.
Yeah, like the appointment of Chris Stark, the sort of climate expert, to lead on the energy stuff is a real plus point. I mean, I think we've only heard it's a great start by the sounds of it from them coming into office. But I by no means am I political, but from the noise that I respect from the likes of Greg Jackson, the CEO of Octopus, saying that this is all a very good thing, means that we've got the right government in place to potentially make some changes there. But it's also up to us as an industry to bring it to their attention, isn't it? You know, we're so-called experts. We should let them know. We need to let them know, and that's why the British Vehicle Leasing and Rental Association (BVRLA) have joined forces with the EV Cafe, Logistics UK, and various other partners to create this van plan and bring it to the attention of the government. There's a lot of work that they need to do, but there's a lot of work we need to do as well.
Yeah, I think it's about, this is all about, like you said, collaboration. No, and that for everything that the EV Cafe stands for is about a collaboration, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And I'd hate for anyone to think otherwise, really. I'd hate for any supplier not to be able to knock on my door and want to collaborate with us, or thinking that EV Cafe is one company. We have sponsors and partners to help us keep going, but they're just associated. You know, we're not, you know, so that's a bit about the industry, because we have suffered in the past about people not collaborating. Some legacy big oil brands, I want to remain nameless, that have got a closed network and weren't willing to collaborate, weren't willing to open up their network, and they're suffering the consequence actually for doing so. So there's a commercial reason to collaborate too. So
absolutely. Well, listen, I just want to say thank you. It's been such a wonderful conversation. There are so many sub-conversations that we could just carry on having, aren't there? I said there'd be lots of these, didn't I? But it's been so lovely to actually finally get you on here. Thank you for being episode 100. I really, I can't tell you. Michelle's going to be over the moon. Michelle Liddell is going to be absolutely over the moon. So
I'll be episode 200 as well. Every 100. Episode.
We could do that, couldn't we? Well, maybe next time I'll get all of you on. But God, can you imagine getting all the EV Cafe on that? That'd be like
in Edgeways.
That'd be like Bun Fight the OK Corral, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But listen, thank you to everything that you've been doing with EV Cafe. Thank you for everything that you're doing with Novuna. Just keep doing it. That's all I'd say. We've talked about how people can get hold of you. I will share all of your contact details, not home telephone number or anything like that, but I'll share all of the details in the show notes when this goes live. But brilliant. Thank you, Jonny. It's been really, really lovely, and I hope I get to get a proper hug when I see you at the next event.
And definitely, let's put that in the diary for you to come and visit, and let's do a live session, because
I'd love that.
Talk about there. So let's get that in the diary. And thank you again for having me on your podcast, let alone it being the 100th one. It's amazing. But also keep up the great work that you're doing with Electrical Evolution. I've been an avid listener for the last six months now. So really good. It's been really helpful for me. So keep up the good work there.
Oh, you're an absolute star. Thank you ever so much. So everybody, thank you for listening to the 100th episode or watching it, whichever way you're watching it. Please, if you've enjoyed this podcast, no matter when you've listened to it, please, if you can put a little review on or something like that and try and spread the word in the same way, you know, we would do for EV Cafe and everybody, then that would be fantastic. But again, I'm going to say thank you, and I will speak to you all, and well, you'll hear me, you'll see me at some point very soon. Thank you, Jonny. I'll see you all later. Bye. Bye. Thanks for watching this episode of Electric Evolution. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons to stay connected with us. And if you're inspired by our journey towards a sustainable future and want to support our mission on a monthly basis, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Electric Evolution Podcast. Your support really helps us to bring the latest insights and discussions in the world of clean energy, electric vehicles, electric vehicle charging and sustainability to you. If a regular subscription isn't what you're looking for, you can always consider buying us a coffee. Just head over to www.buymeacoffee.com/Electric Evolution Podcast. Every cup helps us to keep the electric evolution moving forwards. And if you're curious about our work in the EV infrastructure sector at Full Circle Continuous Improvement, why not visit us at www.fullcircleci.co.uk to find out more. And if you want to send me a message, you can always email me on liz at fullcircleci.co.uk. And finally, please don't forget to share this podcast if it's sparked your interest. And let's keep spreading the word about all of these topics that we're covering. So, until next time, see you soon. Bye!